Hundreds detained without trial in Uganda in new wave of repression. A new wave of repression in Uganda has led to the abductions of dozens more opposition activists by security forces and at least one alleged death. Several hundred people are thought to have been detained without trial in the East African country in secret prisons where they are subjected to a brutal regime of mistreatment. The country has suffered a series of crackdowns aimed at stamping out dissent since campaigning began for presidential elections late last year. The trigger for the most recent repression by security services appears to have been the swearing-in ceremony of Uganda's veteran president, the 76-year-old Yoweri Museveni, in May. Museveni won a sixth term in office in January in an election denounced as fraudulent by the opposition. Police and other unidentified security agencies moved to arrest and detain hundreds in the week before and after the inauguration. Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, the singer-turned-politician known by his stage name, Bobi Wine, who is Uganda's main opposition leader, told The Guardian a member of the inner security team was tortured to death by security operatives in the capital, Kampala. The body of Daniel Aptel was found dumped at Malago Mortuary in Kampala bearing marks of torture on the 22nd of May, Wine said. A police spokesperson said the 21-year-old had been beaten to death by a mob and that charges that he had been murdered after his arrest were baseless. Aptel had told fellow activists he was under constant surveillance by security authorities and had received threats after refusing an offer to work with the government. Witnesses heard Aptel pleading for mercy with someone he called officer shortly before he disappeared near his home in the Kirika district of Kampala on his way home from work. 3 days later, a friend received an anonymous call saying Aptel's body was at the morgue. He had been beaten, hit, his fingers were broken, his teeth removed, it was grave torture. It was a very disturbing sight to see, said Wine. Other detainees have had their joints or genitals beaten with wires, been burned with cigarettes or had fingernails torn out. Many have been members of Wine's party, the National Unity Platform, NUP, party. We are constantly finding people killed or dumped by the roadside, and there are many more who are just rotting in prisons all across the country, Wine said. The NUP has listed more than 700 members and activists said to have been detained but said the true figure was likely to be higher. Luke Owoizagir, the deputy spokesperson for the Kampala Metropolitan Police, said officers had found Aptel's body at the scene of a reported incident of mob justice, but were unable to find witnesses because the incident happened at night and so, most people were already at their homes, obeying a curfew. He accused Wine of playing sympathy politics. The gentleman was killed by the mob and the police are investigating who was behind it. There is nothing like torture. Wine should stop making conclusions before investigating further on the circumstances of the death, Owoizagir said. In the days before Museveni's inauguration, police arrested more than 100 opposition activists on suspicion of planning to disrupt the ceremony. Some have been released. Some produced in court and others remained in detention, officials said. Wine's house has been surrounded by security forces for many months, and though he is allowed to leave, he is constantly followed.